or they are being an adversarial character, treating you as a replay of how they were treated in their past. Either way, in a world like this, you can either dare to be loving, or you can choose to be right. But when you step out of yourself, whether spontaneously or gradually over time, you will come to see that all the time you have spent trying to be right, convince other people of your righteous standpoint, even when it comes at or from the perspective of, my point is equally as important as yours. When you do that with people, when you say, oh, you have that opinion, but mine is equally valid, when you say that, you're asking people to validate you. You're telling people, I don't know my worth and power until you tell me that I am equal to you. And you're asking their ego to free you. You don't need other people to honor, your point of view is equally valid. All you need is people to give you proof of any degree of suffering. And suffering is either they're debilitated from unresolved moments from their past, or they are being an adversarial character, treating you as a replay of how they were treated in their past. Either way, they are there to be blessed with all the joy their heart desires. And they don't have to deserve it. Thank you. That clap is the dissolving of all of our inner Santa Clauses. We no longer have to be in negotiation. We no longer have to tell people, okay, if you can be a good little boy and girl, I'm going to be nicer to you. The rules of unconditional love is people can do whatever they're going to do. I don't have to constantly be around them if they're not going to be nice and cordial and respectful. But for whatever time I'm around them, if I sense any kind of discord or pain or imbalance, that person deserves to be blessed. And if you attempt this, who can hurt you? There's a very subtle distinction I want to make this more real. You can be harmed. Harmed means something happened that has created a change in me. I used to walk down the street. This is an example, by the way. I used to walk down the street, carefree, not a worry in the world, until someone jumped out of the bushes and attacked me. That's an example of being harmed. Hurt is how long that stays with you. So I'm here to boldly tell you, if you employ what I am suggesting, you will never be hurt again. You may be harmed, but harm is temporary. Hurt can be eternal. And knowing the difference between harm and hurt is only something that love knows. Harm may occur, but it may not hurt the way it used to. When we hold our love back, everything hurts. And when everything hurts, we perceive everyone as potentially being someone who might do harm to us. When we open our hearts, we don't hurt as often. We don't hurt as deeply. We don't hurt as long. We develop a level of psychic endurance called resilience. Resilience is how quickly do you pick yourself up from when you've fallen. Or if someone throws you to the ground, how quickly do you get back up? When we hurt, it takes a long time to recover. We have not developed the psychic endurance of resilience. The more often we love, the more resilient we are, the faster we heal, and the faster we become greater aspects of ourselves instead of more insufferable victims of our circumstances. You may be harmed, but when your psychic endurance of resilience is at its peak capacity, you will recover very quickly and ultimately reach a vibration where you don't hurt and you don't attract harm. There is a reality where that exists. And we are shining the light of love into this dimension to awaken that heavenly realm for all. That is what it means to manifest heaven on earth, to bring to this world a frequency of well-being where no hurt or harm exists. And it starts by blessing those who have harmed us with all the joy their heart desires, to lessen and shorten the time that we hurt. So try this out loud. I accept that while there may be harm, it doesn't guarantee hurt. Harm can be temporary. Hurt is the eternal remembrance of harm that lingers for as long as my heart stays conditionally loving. The state of conditional love is also known as judgment. To decide who gets more or less of my love, only to withhold from myself the light of my highest perfection. And in knowing it is so, I allow all memories of harm from all incarnations, known and unknown, seen and unseen, remembered and forgotten, to be cleared out of my energy field. Return to the source of its origin. Transmute it completely. And heal to completion now. I accept that in the dimension of heaven, the light is so obvious and ever present. It is the absence of hurt or harm. And in the name of supporting the awakening of humanity, I allow all patterns and paradigms of harm and hurt to be cleared out of my energy field and the energy fields of all, in accordance with the Akashic records, to be transmuted completely and healed to completion now. And from this moment forward, I invoke the vibration of heaven's glory to enter this moment, to enter this body, to enter this world, to enter this breath, to enter this heart, to enter this mind, to enter this field of consciousness, to enter this world for myself, for my loved ones, and for the greater good of all. May heaven's glory that I invoke bring about an absence of hurt, an absence of harm, the eradication of suffering that allows well-being to dawn. And may it begin with me, blessing all hearts with all the joy that all sentient beings desire. For in a reality of ever-growing fulfillment, no one is the target. Everyone simply is the giver, receiver, and reflector of the love I am. From this moment forward, may I choose what love would do for the greater good of all. And so I'm free. And to help bring heaven to earth, as we just did now, repeat after me, and to help eradicate pain and suffering off this planet, and to bring well-being to life. For all sentient beings and for future generations to come, we say to all hearts, out loud, boldly, I love you. 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 You feel that vibration, that peace? That's your living proof of what we are all bringing to this planet by choosing to love as one. This is what I refer to as the love revolution. This is the movement I was inspired to help facilitate, and it is my honor and privilege to know that we, as almost 1,200 people, have created such gigantic waves of positive change that will continue to ripple out throughout this planet, throughout all continents, throughout all families, all communities. And just think of how incredibly this world will come together as one when we choose to love and dare to never stop. Who's with me?
I didn't even know who Kahn was a couple of weeks ago, and a friend of mine sent me a poem of his, and my mom has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Tonight's teaching is going to answer the question of identifying the source of unworthiness. And when you understand the source of unworthiness, it's very eye-opening when you can see things from a different perspective. And just to set the teaching up a little bit, part of the limitation of the old spiritual paradigm is that the old spiritual paradigm was assuming that the spiritual path was a one-size-fits-all type of journey, that every single person is on the same spiritual path and thus needs the same type of teachings and practices. And what we're finding out in the new paradigm is that you have to have a spiritual path that matches and speaks to your personal experiences. And so to make it very easy to understand, there are two basic paths on the spiritual journey. If you're here in this room, watching this video at home on YouTube, whether thumbsing up or thumbsing down, you're by and large on a heart-centered trajectory. You're on the heart-centered spectrum. And that's different from people whose ego structure is set up to be on the self-absorbed spectrum. There are people that tend to naturally be self-absorbed, and that's their path to integrate that. And there are some people that are just hardwired to be more selfless, and that is an equal but different integration. I've often described it as there's an inferior ego and a superior ego. A superior ego is an ego structure that's fed by believing it's better than others, and an inferior ego structure that believes it's less than others. So as heart-centered, empathic, energetically sensitive beings, which do you suppose we are? Right? We wouldn't be caught dead thinking we're better than other people because we were raised in codependent families, we're people pleasers, emotional doormats, right? The yummy evolved variety. Our ego is believing that we are less than. Even if we don't make it less than others, we're just less than. We don't even go for comparison. We're just less than. And so we have a different type of journey than someone who tends to naturally be self-absorbed. When you're self-absorbed, which I know nowadays people want to jump to the narcissistic label. Not everyone's a narcissist. But I think what we are talking about is the self-absorbed spectrum. Narcissism is just a very inflated version of it. And when you're self-absorbed, you're all about your experience at the exclusion of other people's experience. And that type of surrender is a journey of mindfulness, of waking up and realizing, oh, there's more than just me in the world. And for some people, that's a great grand realization. Oh, wow, there's more than just me. And when you integrate that type of self-absorbed ego, these are the people that wind up becoming philanthropists and use their power and authority and grand finances to help fund a lot of beautiful things in the world when it really gets integrated. But for heart-centered beings, we are of the inferior variety. We are the ones that are feeling the most, taking on the most, doing the most for others, wondering why others aren't doing for us as we do for them. And when we have this imbalance going on as sensitive beings, we have something called unworthiness. Unworthiness. And depending on the spiritual path you're on, a lot of spiritual paths speak very esoterically. Wake up out of Maya, wake up out of illusion, wake up out of the karmic cycle, and a lot of that sounds so vague. But if I just said to you, Enlightenment is waking up out of unworthiness. That sounds delicious, doesn't it? You go, I want that. Give me some of those enlightenments. Minty fresh enlightenments. Pop a few of those. All of a sudden you're worthy. Amazing.
Enlightenment.
So here's where the teaching I've developed the last couple months comes a bombshell. What is the source of unworthiness? And I'm thankful to say that what I'm about to share with you doesn't contradict any of my previous teachings, just complements it. Because in my second book, Everything is Here to Help You, I talk about the journey from ego to soul and how the ego is the soul in its most dormant stage of incubation, and it's about the integration of the ego. And in my first book, Whatever Rises Love That, I talk about the integration of the ego as the unraveling of the nervous system. All of this is true, and it's all just different ways to show respect for the ego. And it's hard in our society to respect an ego structure when it's acting out in such inflated ways with righteousness and all these types of things that we see in the world. But as heart-centered beings, we have a very specific ego trip, and it's called unworthiness. And you know what the cause of unworthiness is? It will blow your mind. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what it is, and you're going to say, stop, not true, and then I'm going to unpack this teaching. The source of unworthiness is not enough ego. Stop! Matt, go home, cut his mic. Now he's just making up new teachings. Not enough ego. I've sat with this for 3 months to really, really unpack it. Because here's the insight. You actually need to have some ego in order to integrate your ego. The old teaching is no ego. Now here's the thing. When you go through awakening, there is a drastic shift of consciousness when you go from being this character whose whole, you are the center of your entire universe, and all of a sudden that character just shoots out of your ears. And you experience oneness, and you have this profound view. That doesn't mean there's no ego. That means the ego gets integrated, and you're no longer viewing yourself as an object or a character in comparison to other characters. Who I am based on how my family views me. How do I see myself when people reject me? So when you wake up, you're waking up out of object consciousness to where you as the witness and what you're witnessing are not two separate reference points. But that doesn't mean there's no ego, because an ego's job is to help you be independent, self-reliant, and self-sufficient. And there's a lot of us on this journey who get blasted into awakening and can't take care of ourselves. When you come back to the body on the round-trip ticket of awakening, you come back to the body, back to your personality, and back to ego. But when the ego is integrated, the ego is now a servant for the masterful soul that's awake within you. So the ego is no longer your guardian or your prison warden. Your ego is fully surrendered into service to you, the Creator. When you integrate an ego, it's not that there's no ego, it's that your ego is a mechanism and an expression of consciousness, not an inflated expression of unconsciousness. It's very important to know the difference. Because when you don't have enough ego, and it's a really strange stage in the spiritual journey where you're in this state of awakening and unity, consciousness, and oneness, and you start to come back into the play, and you think you're falling from grace. No, I'm being tricked. I can't go back there. I'm being tricked. I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, that person is calling me by my first name. I can't even respond to them. That means I'm separate. And what the spiritual ego is, by and large, is hiding behind spiritual concepts, afraid to do the one thing that the divine will always do, which is commit to being a person. You want to be completely enlightened and transcendent? Be an individual. Be a person. Stand up for yourself. Have boundaries. Have pride. Have confidence. Have self-esteem. It's easy to be awake when you and not like yourself. Oh yeah, who I used to be was an illusion. People who think who they used to be were illusions didn't like themselves. That means they didn't like the character they were portraying. But the real awakening is coming back to yourself and experiencing yourself as the greatest desire the universe has to be a person form. You are the universe's greatest desire. The universe wants to be you all the time. As an energetically sensitive soul, our journey of awakening is to learn how to be so emotionally free and transcendent we actually enjoy being ourselves. That's our enlightenment. Liking you. You want to contribute to world peace? Just stop where you're at and like yourself. You will be doing more for the world by liking yourself than trying to do all the spiritual gymnastics that ultimately is just your way from hiding from either personal interactions or hiding from being your human self. When you are a self-absorbed ego, a superior ego, and you have this inflated view of yourself, the spiritual journey is humbling. Oh my God. It's not all about me, this character. There's a higher power I surrender to. For a narcissist or a self-absorbed being, the spiritual path is much like the 12-step program. I can't do this myself. There's a higher power. I surrender. And here's the thing. That's the path that we thought we were supposed to be on too. But you want to know how you know that's not your path? Because you do those steps and nothing gets better. You just get more inferior and insecure and worried and small. And our meditation is to sit in a quiet room and wonder who's thinking about us. Why do they hate me? Maybe I hate me. Do I like me? Do I like me like me? If we were any more steeped in people pleasing, we wouldn't even talk to ourselves because we wouldn't want to bother ourselves. And as already surrendered beings, that's why the 12-step approach for us doesn't work, because we were born surrendered. It took surrender to get here. You came out of the womb surrendered, ready to go. And when you are a surrendered being who's trying to do the surrender process, it just makes you more insecure, inferior, and socially awkward. Where you feel like just breathing and existing around other people is imposing onto other people. Right? Excuse me, I'm going to stand behind you in this grocery store line as long as it's okay with you. I'm going to breathe through a straw so I don't take oxygen from you. Because I want us all to have an equal opportunity. I can just hold my breath if that would be better for your experience. I can hold my breath. as I get ready to offer tonight's teaching, I just wanted to take this moment to meet you in love. Because love is what I represent. Love is the source of my teachings. Love is the reason I exist. Love is what is bringing us together for the dance of transformation that occurs when we meet. And with tonight's teaching, I wanted to unpack a very sacred phrase that has been heard throughout many traditions. And in fact, I was reminded of this phrase while waiting in line at Whole Foods. I know you're going to say, Matt, again, another grocery store story. And of course, I was on a water cleanse in line at Whole Foods because you have to buy more water. And as I'm in line with my water, or as I called it the other night, dinner, which, by the way, if you think, oh, I'm going to put in a nice champagne flute, it's not going to matter. Doesn't matter. I didn't put it in the champagne flute because who has the strength at that point? I barely could open the bottle. I'm just kidding. But I was in line at Whole Foods, and there's a man in front of me talking to the clerk. And the man in front of me, his boisterous personality, was asking the clerk about this symbol he had tattooed on him. And the guy said, what does that mean? He goes, oh, it means I am that I am. And I thought, he must be in the fifth dimension. I'm at Whole Foods Market. And casually in front of me, we're just going to talk I am that I am? This is amazing. Where am I? That's where I'm like literally checking, like, is this water cleanse okay? Am I okay? Am I hallucinating this? Am I okay? And the guy said, oh, what's I am that I am? He goes, oh, you know, the Hebrew, Old Testament, you know, like Moses met God. Just, by the way, I'm not making fun of the person. This is literally how it happened, or at least that's how it sounded to me. Well, you know, Old Testament, Moses, you know, met God and said, hey, God, who are you? And he goes, I am that I am. And Moses went, whoa, you're God. That was literally the explanation he gave. It was the most Keanu Reeves explanation I've ever heard in my entire life. It was amazing. And then the person checked out, and it was my turn. I said, oh, I am that I am, that's cool, and blah, blah. And I walked away, and I thought, let's unpack that. I am that I am. Because if we really look at it, and that's something that I can tell you in my own personal journey, my spiritual practice is not being up here with you, meaning my life's mission is to be here with you. But I have a separate life of spiritual practice where I'm always exploring and pushing the envelope and just looking at things from different perspectives to always glean new insights. So I'm someone who has taken a phrase like I am that I am and I look at it. And literally when I look at it, what I do is I literally stare at it and I let things energetically come out of it. Like, you know, one of those pictures where if you look at it, something opens up, those magic pictures? When I was a kid, they had these kiosks in the mall where if you look at it closely, something pops up. In the beginning, I couldn't do it. Then all of a sudden, I see the castle. Oh my God, I see a castle. So I've stared at this phrase, I am that I am, and I want to share with you a few things that came to me about it. Because everything, like a work of art, whether it's a Da Vinci painting, has a code of consciousness. And when you crack the code, which, by the way, cracking the code of consciousness is looking at it from the right vibrational perspective. And the minute you look at it, the door opens. So we have I am that I am. The first part of I am that I am is simply I am. Now we notice in the sentence there's I am twice. What would be more accurate for this statement is if the first I am was in lowercase letters and the second one was in uppercase letters. Because the interesting thing, what often they call the razor's edge, and that can be describing a lot of things, is that the degree between soul and ego is but a razor's edge away. There's literally no space between the two. That's how close they are related. So the ego says, I am. The soul says, I am. And it sounds like they're the same thing. But one is a lowercase I am, and one is an uppercase I am. The lowercase I am is the personal I am, the personality, the you who has survived your past, the you that has the experience of feeling entrenched in your family dynamic, the you that when your family invites you to a function and you think, I don't know if I want to go, there's that party that goes, I have to go. That's little I am. Little I am. And little I am likes to impersonate big I am. Like a little boy putting on his father's fireman boots and walking around the house pretending he's fighting fires. Ego likes to impersonate divinity because it thinks it's two separate things. But whether we're talking about little or big I am, which is just a degree of maturity, when you're little I am, that means you are divinity in your potential. When you're big I am, that means you're divinity in your reality. Kind of like a child will become an adult, but has to grow through the process. In the same way, little I am is divine, but hasn't fully realized its potential as an adult, masterful expression of divinity. So there is an I am on both sides. And the reason why the phrase is I am that I am is because it shows you your journey is going from I am to I am, which on a very Zen level means you're not going anywhere. Which is also why the koan, the timeless koan, has been before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Because you're going from I am to I am. You're not actually going anywhere. But there is a spiritual and energetic maturity that happens in you to where even though you're going from I am to I am, you're going from lowercase I am to uppercase I am, which is actually going a great distance, energetically and emotionally and metaphorically. Does that make sense? So I am is where you start off. I am is where you end up. And in between that, we have a journey of expansion, growth, integration, and embodiment. And as hard as you try to do this smoothly, it's going to go the way it's going to go. I am. In other videos and teachings, I've talked about, and I think in my second book, I talked about I am as the I is also a Roman numeral 1. And if you look at a capital letter I in your mind's eye, when is it the I and when is it the Roman numeral 1? Can you tell? Same thing. And what that actually shows you is that there's no dividing the I from the 1. Which means your personal experience of self and the source that you are animating into reality are one, not separate. Who sees an I and who sees a one is a matter of perspective. And the difference between if you see an I or if you see a one determines if you're seeing from the perspective of lowercase I am or uppercase I am. Some will see I, some will see one, some will see both. And they're all just layers of perspective. But in the I am, there's I. But the I means one. And then there's AM for awareness manifested. One awareness manifested. Now in your personal I am, in your lowercase I am, as the I, you experience awareness. What you see, what you feel, what you remember, what you think, what you choose. You have an awareness. And your awareness is very different than other people's awareness. Have you noticed that? Have you had enough disagreements with people to realize, I think we all think a little differently? We all have our own unique perspectives, but we're all bringing through the same energetic source of truth. So we all are representatives of the collective one I am, and individually we all are seeing it just a little bit differently so that all perspectives and voices can be seen, valued, and heard in unity consciousness. So one awareness manifested means we're all seeing it differently, but we're all being fueled by the same source. Awakening is when you start to live as the source of your perspective and not just lost in the fantasy of your individual viewpoint. And the only reason why people call your individual viewpoint a fantasy is not to say that it's not real, but because when you're in your own individual viewpoint, have you ever noticed this? That when you're the most entrenched and when you're the most attached to your own individual viewpoint, when you are defending your viewpoint to someone who disagrees, when you're trying to get a partner to see your point of view, ooh, if they could just see my way, right?
Okay, so, wow, 43 minutes. I am Infinitenin, and this is my painting and talking channel. I didn't do any talking today, but Matt Kahn did talking today. This is the painting so far. It is not finished yet. It will be. Excuse me, I have concentration decongestion. Yeah, it's a good thing. Or it's, the alcohol from the alcohol. Either way, I hope that this video was enjoyable. And quick update. Things are going really well in my professional life. I did sell my first vehicle, my first Mercedes ever. So that was really a cool experience. It was an interesting experience that I might get into in a later video. But it's a laugh riot. I was telling a friend that I wished I might write a script about what goes on in a car dealership. It's too hilarious. This if this was a TV series and this sale was one episode, or it could have been a movie. If it was one episode of a series and they were all that good, it would be the best show ever on television. I'm going to say that. That's pretty ambitious, but I'm going to go with that. yeah, so I'm going to, this is doing some really interesting, it's sweating a little bit, which is cool. I like that effect. I have a lot of different textures in here that I don't know if you'll be able to see. Yeah, you can see a little bit that, like, right where the red and the yellow meet there. It's like a little bit of sweating. So we'll see how this goes in the next video, maybe, or I'll start a new one. We'll see. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, Infinitenin. Okay, well, enjoy and have a great evening. If it's evening for you, have a great day. If it's day for you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.